In the far reaches of the North Blue Territory, there's a story some folks tell about a wandering country. Mercenaries that are all dressed flamboyantly awesome, that fight all that's right in the world. They are referred to only as Kaizoku Sentai! GERMA Double 6! Yeah, boy! Right about now is where I would love to dress up in a GERMA costume and then do a Power Rangers Super Sentai inspired intro, but my budget just isn't that big yet! Maybe someday. I'm gonna bench that, and we're gonna get back to it someday, and it's gonna happen, alright? I'm gonna hire some actors, we're gonna all dye our hair, we're gonna get the freaking Power Raid suits on, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do an entire Power Ranger-themed intro based off the GERMA Double 6. You can hold my feet to the fire on that one. So, in this video, we are gonna be discussing the Vin Smoke Siblings. Minus Sanji. I thought about discussing him, but he's not really a Vin Smoke. He's really not. He kind of had that big moment with Youngji at the end of the tea party where he declared, you know, I am no longer your son, kind of the reverse of what Youngji did to him when he was a little kid. And he basically tosses away the name, and he's like, you know, you threw me out? You didn't want me as your family? Screw you. I'm the one that doesn't want to be part of this. I'm the one that's going to throw away my name. Don't you ever say you're associated with me from now on. So, there's that, and also, I did an entire discussion video on Sanji in my Straw Hat series, so there's really no reason to go in-depth here. Somebody else that I'm not going to be referencing directly is Youngji himself, or Judge. I think he kind of deserves his own discussion video because of all his, like, the backstory with him and Vegapunk. Like, that's a lot of stuff going on there. So, I'll reference him, of course, in this video. It's kind of hard not to, but I'm not going to be, like, specifically spotlighting him. The ones we are going to be spotlighting are the Vin Smoke Siblings. Reiju Vin Smoke, the eldest child and only daughter in the family. Ichiji Vin Smoke, the eldest son. Niiji Vin Smoke, the second son. And Youngji Vin Smoke, the fourth son, as well as the youngest child. Now, before we get to any of them specifically, just in a broad sense here, the thing with the Vin Smoke siblings is that they were all experimented on using the GERMA science as well as with various chemicals that were pretty much injected forcefully into Sora, who was their mother. And after giving birth to each one, they all had a special bodies. They had an outer shell that started off as like a child, but then eventually it was like the way it's implied, they went from like small children to like adult-sized bodies. Like they didn't really have puberty like everyone else did. They had like an outer shell that they developed, sort of like insects, kind of, if you think about it. This made them incredibly tough, even as children. When Sanji tried to punch Ichiji as a kid, it didn't even phase him there. Sanji being the sole exception to this, so far that we know of. There's still some people out there that think Sanji's going to develop some sort of like outer skin like armor. The same thing with his siblings. He's just a late bloomer. But so far we haven't seen that. From what we have seen is that Ichiji, Niiji, Yonji, and Reiju all exhibit this. On top of that, I guess Judge was also experimenting with hair dye because they each were born with different kinds of hair colors. So I don't know how you like, all right, we're going to make the strongest super children this side of the Incredibles. You know, we're going to have them, you know, strong, and one's going to be able to manipulate explosions, and another one we're going to give electrical abilities, another one's going to be able to be immune to poisons. Also, I'm going to try to make sure that they all have very distinguished Super Sentai hair color. That way we can, you know, properly adjust their outfits accordingly. It'll be all so colorfully awesome. It's like a majestic rainbow that's coming to annihilate your entire island and then burn it down into ash. So that's something there too. Basically though, they all have unique abilities catered to them that's not anything to do with devil fruits or hockey or anything like that. And the GERMA science itself works for their outfits, the raid suits they have. They all have these little capsules that they can initiate. I would assume the outfits give them extra protection on top of like the boots that allow them flight, and weapons of that nature that probably just augment their own natural abilities. Right, so without further ado, let's kick it with the individual characters. Poison Pinku! Reiju has awesome boobies, dude. Okay, Sorry. I mean, it's true. I mean, come on now. Even just basically Rule 63 Sanji when she first showed up. That's what a lot of people viewed her as. Still, and she does have awesome boobies. Okay, so Reiju Vin Smoke is the first child born to Sora and Judgy, and it's kind of funny because she was the only daughter, right? All the other ones after this were boys. But, it's weird they gave her the number 0. It's almost like Judge was kind of like ashamed at first. Do you kind of get that vibe? Because there's no reason, like, it's like, alright, I'm gonna breed some super children into you, woman. And then, girl pops out and he's just like, okay, well, she could still be a superhuman and everything. It's just that, I was expecting a guy, so give her the number 0. Like, what would have happened if it just kept being daughters after that? And keep in mind, they were messing with genetics on a whole other level, so it's probably they anticipated the gender, they could control that. But still, that doesn't make any sense why you would give her the 0 and not a 1. But if it was like multiple daughters, what would you do then? Like, okay, 0. 0.1, 0.2, we're working our way up to a boy. Her name, Ray, the Ray there, that means 0. The design of her outfit with the butterfly aesthetic and everything going on with the circles, that is a reference to the zeros, as well as like her shirts. One of the shirts was just a regular 0. Another one looked like a target, and that's referencing that there. Reiju is interesting. So she was the first one born. The other siblings, all of the boys were all born at the same time. Reiju was born 3 years before them. Okay, so she's 24. All the other Vin Smokes, including Sanji, are 21. Now, Reiju was not modified in the same way as the others were. Her body still was. She still had the tough outer layer of skin and everything like that, and her abilities, the poison pink, we'll get into. But in terms of the mental, like, I don't want to say brainwashing, because it wasn't really brainwashing. It wasn't like they were forced to sit in a room and be, like, traumatized. Like, they were literally, like, born without emotions and things like that. She escaped that for the most part. So just from being born, a lot of the Vin Smoke siblings did not have the capacity for things like love or remorse or and any of the positive emotions, basically. They still kind of have emotions, like Niiji exhibited, like, a disgust before. Respect is kind of on the level there. Like, you figure if they were all emotionless, they would just be puppets and nothing more. They clearly have their own distinct personalities. I think it's just all the emotions that Judge probably felt like that are not very beneficial, like love and like remorse, guilt, things like that he managed to remove. So they don't feel bad about their actions. Reiju does, but she's also smart enough to know that if she came out and, revealed her true nature to her siblings would treat her the same way that they treated Sanji, which is they picked on him constantly, beat the crap out of him. He didn't belong. So Reiju was kind of smart enough to know, like, she even said it to Sanji after his siblings would come in and beat the crap out of Sanji. Reiju would be usually the one that patch him back up. So she was a nice big sister. And she said to him, he's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stick up for you when they're around, because I gotta kind of have to watch my own head, because I gotta make sure they don't turn on me, because the other 3, Ichiji, Niiji, and Yonji, they're just monsters that are just, following father, dutifully. They have no emotions. They don't care, so I have to live with them, but Sanji, you're destined for something else. She brings up that even though I have emotions and I have morality, something else that the other GERMAs are kind of like, let's lower that morality bar a little bit there when we were designing them. She does have that kind of stuff, but she still cannot go against Judgy's orders. So I think it's something like instilled in them from childbirth, or maybe very early on, where it's like whenever Judge he gives out an order, like a direct order, they have no choice but to follow it. And in Reiju's case, that applies to her. So she understands that she could not leave. She couldn't have her own life. She's tethered to the GERMA, which is actually a lot worse sometimes when you think about it. Yeah, Sanji had it pretty bad. He had it really rough when he was a kid. But he was able to escape, and he was able to throw off those shackles. He did have emotions. He did have morality. He wasn't subservient to whatever his father said. Reiju was. So she's like, I'm stuck in this family, and I just kind of have to make the best out of a worse situation. There's plenty of times whenever she was telling Sanji, she's like, I'm gonna let I think the Germas should disappear. I think the assassination plan that Big Mom has planned for us and everything, I think that should go through. You need to escape. You need to get out of here. Up to the point where Reiju's not even like, oh, save me, but the others deserve to. No, she was even like, Sanji, it all needs to go away. It all needs to disappear. My brothers, father, the entire country, me as well. We've done horrible things. We should not be allowed on to live anymore. So just let us go. Now, of course, Sanji is a nice guy, so he defends them. I'm assuming, like there was a moment there where he was, sticking up for his brothers and Judge, at Big Mom's tea party, and I was thinking, like, yeah, Sanji, you're a cool dude. You're not gonna let your family die. But, if you just want to save Reiju and escape, I don't think the fandom would blame you too much, considering all the crap you had to deal with and everything. But she, it really does kind of make you feel bad for her that she had to live her whole life like this, and basically as a puppet for Judge, and that's nothing more, that's what she was. But she was probably the most likable one out of all of the siblings, aside from Sanji himself. You might think the other siblings might look cool, or their abilities are neat and everything like that. But in terms of, like I said, they do have distinct personalities. Like Ichiji is a little bit more calm and reserved. Niiji is a little bit more boisterous. Yonji is a little bit more hot-headed. But in terms of, like, anything beyond that, and their designs and their abilities and everything like that, they're not really all that interesting in the grand scope. Reiju her character has depth, it has layers. You can't really say that for the other siblings aside from Sanji. I would love Reiju to stick around, not saying anything like she's gonna, because people have thrown that out there, like, Reiju should join the Straw Hats. I'm like, yeah, I could see kind of a problem with that. I'm all for more females on the crew, but you have two characters that are brother and sister on the Straw Hats, and they look kind of similar. That might be kind of weird just to have them there. But I hope, like she's still an ally to the Straw Hats. If any of the Vinsmokes would rush to the Straw Hats' aid later down the line, I would definitely like to see it be Reiju, aside from any of the other brothers or Judge himself. I would love to see Reiju appear. Her ability is the Poison Pink. Now, when she first appeared, this had a little bit of a spicy, kinky kind of vibe to it. So Luffy's on the Thousand Sunny. He just ate this poisonous rockfish thing in the boiling hot sea, and he's dying. Luffy's not looking too hot. He has a pretty high poison resistance, but Luffy ate enough of this poison fish to like stagger a giant. So he's dying, alright? So he's lying there, and the GERMA ship shows up. They think it's Sanji at first because of the twirly eyebrows. Reiju arrives on the ship, and she has the ability to absorb and, like, consume certain poisons and nullify their effects. So she goes over to Luffy, and here's the thing. I'm assuming she could have used this on any part of his body. It didn't have to be the mouth, but she, kisses Luffy and sucks off Luffy. That's good iced tea. To extract the poison into herself, and it seems to, like, transfer over to her, but it then gets nullified. Her wings begin to glow, and it, like, spreads out and stuff. And after it's over, the poison is now removed from Luffy. He's fine, and then Reiju gets back up and slurps her lips like, that was so yummy. So, I think a lot of people had some conflicting feelings at that moment, because, like I said, basically Rule 63 version Sanji. That was before we knew the color schemes of the GERMA, too. Back in the day, not really back in the day, back 2 years ago, we used to think the GERMAs all had, like, blonde hair, like with Sanji. So that was something like, the fan art shows that, but later on it was revealed, okay, that makes them more distinguishable from Sanji. They have different hair colors. But yeah, that's her ability, and at first we all thought it was a devil fruit. We thought it was going to be like, oh, she has some sort of, like, because there's butterflies that are poisonous, so maybe she has some butterfly, like Mushi Mushi no Mi model butterfly that allowed her to suck out the poison. It's just her ability. And because she doesn't have the butterfly wings without her outfit, they're part of her raid suit. It's just that her raid suit works to, like, extend her ability. So that's why the wings are affected and they kind of flutter whenever she absorbs the poisons. And she used this ability against Smoothie. She excreted poison from her body, and then so whenever she kicks or punches, poison is excreted from her skin. That would also probably explain why her outfit, her raid suit, suit is so revealing. All the other Vinsmokes, when they have their raid suits out, they look like actual battle gear. Well, they don't have helmets, so not really that effective in real life, but they got gloves that are all ready for combat and everything like that. Reiju's is like this skin-tight, deep V-neck, boobs out to Wednesday, really revealing, super short mini skirt. And you're thinking like, oh, it's just sexualized. No, it really does, extend her ability, though, because if she excretes poison from her skin, then, you want to have skin contact with Reiju, oh my, and then that, the poison gets onto her. Now, Smoothie was able to counteract this with her Devil Fruit, being able to just juice out the poison, just wring out her arm, and the poison was excreted, but under a normal circumstance, that would be a very effectual technique. I would like to imagine that, like, she can combine various poisons, like the poison of that rockfish she sucked out of Luffy. She could then send that poison onto another person, another opponent, or she could mix that poison with other poisons in her body, and then she can make a whole new poison as a very difficult time, like an anti-poison or anything you can make for it. There's no antidote for that kind of stuff if you're just mixing and matching poisons. Same deal with Magellan. Magellan had one type of poison he usually used for Hydra, but then he could combine various others into that kind, and then there's no antidote for like multiple kinds of poisons. You're just screwed, unless Ivankov is present. But that's the situation with Reiju. Very interesting ability. Love her to death, and I hope to see more of her in the future. So probably aside from Sanji, my favorite Vin Smoke. I think she's a lot of people's favorite Vin Smokes. Because as we've stated, the next ones aren't that interesting in terms of personality, but their abilities are pretty cool. Look no further from when I say that than Sparking Redo! Yeah, I made shirts for all of them. I'm very dedicated to my craft, if nothing else. Okay, so Ichiji Vin Smoke, probably the coolest out of all of them. I mean, if we're just looking at sheer design and attitude and aesthetic and ability, just sheer coolness, that's Ichiji Vin Smoke. I mean, he has an awesome design, he wears cool-ass shades, red hair, his voice actor voiced Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto, and I have to say, Sasuke's emo is shit, but he is cool. You gotta give me that much, okay? And his ability, of course, is the Sparking Red, which is combustion, basically. Explosions. He can generate explosions using his fists, explosive punches, explosive kicks, grab somebody, grip them on the neck, and then cause successive explosions. Bakugo, basically, from My Hero Academia. Very, very handy there. I like the design of the, when he had his shirt off in one scene, before getting ready for the tea party, he had this awesome ornate tattoo on his arm with the one. I thought that was pretty cool. Aside from the other members of the Vinsmokes, whenever they saw Nami, approach, the first time they all saw Nami, you have Youngji and Niiji that both did the heart thing that Sanji always does, like, oh, she's such a hottie. They're very open with it. Niiji had the same exact expression, but he had his head turned away. So he's just like, he has to play off the cool persona. That's what I mean sometimes when I say, like, it's stated that they don't have emotion, but they very clearly do, it's just not, they don't have, like the capacity for love or guilt, or, like, their morality is very low, they'll kill at a drop of a hat without any sort of regret or anything, doesn't matter who it is, but they still have their own personalities, and it seems that Ichiji is, like, very calm and reserved, and he views that in high regard. He wouldn't have those thoughts if he was just a mindless puppet, just from Judge's will, so yeah, he's the one, very quiet, very stoic, usually thinks more what's on his mind than says it. He's not very boisterous. He has the same exact, thought process on royalty and everything like that, the same as his father and his brothers and everything like that when he's talking about, that to Sanji, where his place is and how he shouldn't associate with the common folk. We're royalty, we're the GERMA royal family, and you should act like that. The common people are below us. Yeah, during the tea party, when they were fighting after they got their raid suits back, Sanji rescued them and everything like that. He fought against Katakuri very briefly. Did not go over too well. Got the crap beat out of him, and that was actually kind of a shocking moment. Because from the way that it's set up, and this could be wrong, it's never really been stated anywhere, but am I the only one that thought that Ichiji was the strongest out of all of them? I mean, when you have a giant number 1 on your shirt, it's kind of implied that you are the strongest. Not saying he is, but that's the way I took it. Eldest son in the family, and so to see him held up by the throat by Katakuri, it was only one panel. They didn't hammer it in too much. Maybe they'll go in more into detail in the anime. In fact, I hope they do. It was just like you cut back over and he's holding Ichiji up and it's one panel, but it really did have a lot of impact there. Like, whoa. The strongest out of the GERMA sons, the eldest son, got beaten down pretty easily by Katakuri. Katakuri didn't seem damaged at all. And, that helps to set up the fight later between Luffy and Katakuri to see really the power that Katakuri has and what he's capable of, able to take down the eldest Vinsmoke son without really any difficulty there. So that was really important there for Katakuri and also, like, the Ichiji, like, the power level difference there, where they're at. So as I said, sparking red, he usually does this by grabbing opponents or punching them. He has a technique, I think, called Sparking Figure, which involves that. Haven't really get to see him too much in combat. We know the basics of his ability, but not that much. All of the Vinsmokes, really, aside from Reiju, who had, like, that big first display of her abilities, sucking the poison out of Luffy, we haven't really got to see them in combat all too much. That's probably going to change, given the fact that they're heading to Cacao Island, and they're going to play a part in the final battle. It might just be like a huge battle royale at Cacao, where the GERMA show up, Sanji's there, Pudding's there, and try to get Luffy out of the mirror world and back on the Sunny, back with Sanji. And so the GERMA might show up with Judge there as well, and then just start wiping out all of these Big Mom pirates, and like maybe Ichiji is gonna take down like Oven or something like that. It's possible. I mean, Oven is heat, and then Ichiji is explosions. Kind of the same thing. Not really, though, because people have brought up, you're like, well, Sanji's ability might be fire because of Diablo Jambe, and I'm like, isn't Ichiji, aren't explosions the same as fire? And the whole internet was just like, no, they are clearly distinctive powers. Tekking, explosions and combustion are not in the same thing as heat and fire. Not. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, whatever, but okay, I still think they're kind of similar, but okay, fine. There was a theory for a while that spoke about how, well, Big Mom has her two homies. She has Prometheus, the sun, and Zeus, the thundercloud. Here we have Ichiji, who uses explosions, and then we have Niiji, his younger brother, that uses electricity, so they thought they were going to fight against Big Mom's homies, but that didn't go down. Just goes to show, there's so many ways this could play out. I'm just really hoping we get an actual fight scene between, like, here's Ichiji versus Oven, at least a chapter of a fight. Here's Nichiji versus, I don't know, Daifuku, something of a fight. We actually get to see what their abilities are. Because there's some of them that are sort of ambiguous. Youngji's is kind of ambiguous what it even is. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, Ichiji Vin Smoke, probably the coolest out of all of them. Moving on! Yankee Blue! Yeah, I probably should have drawn the number a little bit higher up on this one. Okay, so Niiji Vin Smoke, the second son of the family, third born. This is the guy I think most people hate. If you're going to pick out any of the Vin Smoke siblings, the one you absolutely hate the most, probably Niiji. Because Niiji was the one that, like, directly confronted Sanji about all of the things involving the GERMA, and their status and everything, and he's a very boisterous guy, very arrogant attitude, and, they were all just sitting around a dinner table, like, the first time that Sanji was there, first time they had dinner for, like, ever, since they were kids, and Niji's over there talking about how, yeah, Sanji, we used to always get around for dinner, and we always used to talk about, all the different ways you could have died out there in the world, it killed time if nothing else. So he's that kind of asshole. And, yeah, Youngji, too. Youngji directly confronted Sanji like once or twice, but Niiji was the one that just really just jammed it in. I mean, really jammed it into Sanji. His ability is the Denki Blue, the blue electricity. He has the ability to channel electricity through his body. He uses a technique called Henry Needle, where he charges up electricity into his knee, grabs his opponent, and just jams it in there, and just sends like 1.21 gigawatts through your spinal cord. That was enough to drop Sanji, so he's very strong, and that kind of allows like the gap there. Like, Sanji was able to take down Youngji like off screen, get a hit out on him, but then you get to Niiji fighting against Sanji, and it's just like, oh, okay, so it's not like Sanji, even with his training, the time skip and everything, it's not like Sanji's, like, really strong compared to his siblings. Like, he ranks about maybe, I don't know, because that was more of just, like, a brawl. If Sanji straight up fought against Niiji in, like, an all-balls-out fight, maybe Sanji would win, but from that one technique, we saw him get taken down. And that technique that Niiji uses, Henry Needle, is named after an electrical unit of inductance, I think. It's a unit of measurement. I've never heard of it before, the Henry measurement. I've never heard of that before, but, interesting to bring up. I think his ability is the most versatile out of all of the Vin Smoke siblings. I mean, think about it. You could channel electricity through your body. Not just, like, grabbing people and shocking them, but also, like, you know, have a weapon. Channel it through a sword or, like, a wire or something. You know, there's so many options for you there. There's a lot of them, quite, actually. You know, have a gun, like, your whole body's a taser. Killua this shit from, like, Hunter x Hunter. Like, there's a lot of options for you there, Niiji. You're an asshole, but there's a lot of options for your ability. I like the hairstyle. Not really. No, I don't like the giant coif. You know, never trust somebody with a coif that much. A lot of Thompson's water seal went into making that hairdo. You know, he has goggles, and Ichiji wears sunglasses, which I think look cooler. Niiji's the one that rocks the goggles, which, you know, whatever. I usually like goggles on an anime character, but not with Niiji. Don't really care for them much there. Probably the biggest moment that just really drove it in how much of an asshole this guy was whenever they were hanging out at the dinner table when Niiji was going on and on about how, yeah, we used to talk about how you know, might have died as a pastime. It was a good family bonding moment. Sanji doesn't really care about that. Sanji's just like, yeah, whatever, screw you. But he points at his plate and he said, hey, Niiji, you need to finish your food because you're not finishing it. And Niji's just like, oh yeah, I had some chocolate earlier. This is just a bunch of crap. I'm not even going to finish it. And he just kind of throws it on the ground. And then Sanji begins to pick it up because he's a chef and he cares about food, and he picks it up and just starts to eat it. And then that's when Niiji sticks out his tongue. He's like, ugh, it's so disgusting. What the hell? So he has a concept of disgust and everything, and his status and everything like that. So that was the moment. And he throws the plate at Cosette. Like, he was such a douche nugget. Like, so much so. If any of the Vin Smoke siblings are going to be left behind, let it be Niiji. Let it be Niiji. But once again, one of the strongest members, him and Ichiji went to go take out that rebellion on Broccoli Island. This is a rebellion that was waging on for months, maybe even years. And it just took Ichiji and Niiji and like a few GERMA soldiers, like a dozen GERMA soldiers, to end this entire rebellion in only a few hours. And then make it back to Whole Cake Island for the wedding. So, I mean, they're really strong. It makes me kind of, you know, wonder if the Vinsmokes would have discovered Sanji before the time skip. Sanji would have gotten his ass beat so hard. You know, even after the time skip, he was able to stand up to Youngji a little bit, but not so much Niiji. You know, so that's kind of scary there. But Niiji, I mean, if you like him, you like him. I mean, I guess he has a cool appearance, but such a douche nugget. Such a freaking douche nugget. Winter Green. Alright, and now we finally come to the last of the Vin Smoke siblings, the youngest child, Youngji. Keep in mind, all of the boys were born at the same time, so it was literally just Youngji was the last one out, but he's technically, yeah, he's the youngest. Yeah, Youngji, he's, not really much to talk about him, kind of boring. Video's over. Later. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't care much for Youngji. I find him kind of bland. You know, he hasn't really ever done anything really interesting, in my opinion. Even his ability, I guess, could be conceivably interesting if we kind of knew what it was. We're not really sure what it is. And from all we get from this, and we see it in the openings, is he like hits the ground with things, and like a green kind of energy kind of comes out of his hands, like a green glow. What is that? We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of theories, but we just don't know. Most commonly accepted idea is that he has the ability to manipulate germs or bacteria or something like that because it's winch green, so green germs, you know, stuff like that. And it's not impossible. I mean, you know, Reiju is able to manipulate poisons. But it's just weird because all of their abilities have something to do with their epithets. You know, poison pink is poison, obviously. Sparking red, you know, combustion, explosions, you know, you have to ignite it with a spark. Denki blue or electric blue, you know, obvious. You know, and then you get to Youngji, who is winch green. So, okay, let's look at the dictionary. Let's take a look at what all the different definitions of winch mean, and let's see if we get something there. Alright, so let's see what we got here for winch. A hauling or lifting device consisting of a rope, cable, or chain. Doesn't really apply there for him. And the second definition is the crank of a wheel or axle. Yeah, don't really have anything. It has a verb as its hoist or haul. Yeah, so the name winch doesn't really lend to anything. I mean, he's not using, like, if he used, like, a grappling hook or, like, a rope or something in combat, that would make sense, but it isn't. It's more of just like he usually relies on the GERMA technology, like, you know, and he has the raid suit, which increases his attack power and all that stuff, but that's with every Vin Smoke. So I don't know. I guess I'll go with the germ idea. Some people, because he's green, they've thrown out the idea of nature manipulation, but that seems rather situational, if anything. I mean, you live on a floating kingdom that's out to sea, so the ability to manipulate nature, if that was your power, like, you know, plant life and everything, that wouldn't be very situational in your day-to-day life. So, for right now, I'm going to say manipulating germs, bacteria, viruses, maybe. We just never really have seen him utilize that kind of power. The only time that we've seen him kind of use it is there was a combination attack with Ichiji, Niiji, and Yonji, were called Black Bug, that they all combine their powers together to attack at once, and it's just called Compound Color. Because if you mix red, green, and blue together, you would probably just get like a black mess, and then that's the attack. But, you know, the attack was like a combination, so we didn't really get to see what his ability was there either. I mean, it would be cool if it was maybe like a fungus or something that can like eat away at your opponent. Maybe that would be more appropriate, some type of fungus, but we just don't know. So yeah, he was the first one of the Vin Smoke siblings that we saw. When the Straw Hats were approaching the GERMA ship, he kind of like lowered his glasses, and for a sec, ooh, is it Sanji? We don't know. No, it was Youngji, the youngest. And he had like little back and forth with the Straw Hats. He didn't, once again, he likes to kind of like mess with them, kind of like play with them. If he had no emotions, he'd be like, enemy ship, attack, destroy. No, it was just like, haha, the Straw Hats, come on, please, we have to help our friend Luffy. And he's like, well, why should we? You know, he was doing that kind of crap. Reiju showed up, smacked him upside the head, and then, helped out Luffy with the poisoning and everything like that. But Youngji was very, very hot-headed, kind of. That's his personality, very sarcastic. It was very funny. It was off-screen in the manga. In the anime, I think they showed it when Sanji fought against Youngji for mouthing off, and Youngji thought it was going to be the same as when they were kids, and Sanji just Diablo Jambes him right in the freaking face, and his face gets dented. And it's because their skin is super tough, they literally have to take a hammer and hammer out his flesh, and just like, because it's like getting dented like steel or something, just like, damn it, freaking Sanji, I'm gonna kill him, so that's what their skin is, that's how durable it is, so damn if nothing else. But that was pretty funny to watch, and they showed up. I think he was the one that overpowered Daifuku's genie after getting his raid suit back during the tea party, so that was impressive. Don't think of him as the weakest. I mean, he might be, but don't think of him as like, here's Ichiji and Niiji, and then, Yonji's all the way down here, because that's not the case. He's up there still. It just his power might not be as effectual, or might be very situational compared to like explosions or electricity, but that's all we got there from Youngji. Not really much to go on there. Right, and with that being said, there's all the Vin Smoke siblings. Like I said, I'll be doing a separate video about Judge later on, and maybe when there's more revealed about the GERMA, I think I might even make a separate video just about that, like the lore and the legend built up and everything. Judge is going to be interesting, though, because he had a past with Vegapunk and everything, so there's a lot of stuff to go on there. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, talking about the Vin Smokes just in a broad sense. I don't really see myself making separate videos for like each of the siblings. Maybe if there's a little bit more character development from any of them, like Reiju's the one I could see doing the most. Not just because she has big boobs, but okay, that's like 1/3. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we could maybe see more with Reiju in the future, and I might make a separate video on her, based around that alone. But with the siblings, supporting cast for the arc, not bad, of an interesting concept if nothing else, learning about Sanji's family and all that stuff. Don't expect to see them all that much in the future, but I think they might have one last hurrah before the end of the arc, that one big fight scene that we're going to get to see all the Vin Smokes working together and taking on the Big Mom Pirates. I think that'll be really neat. And after that, I mean, they'll be free. They'll probably get back on their ship, on their kingdom, and they'll sail away. And we might see them again from time to time. They might head to Reverie. Because I think they were discussing, I can't remember this clearly, if they did get an invite to Reverie or they didn't, or they did get an invite but they couldn't make it. I can't remember that. But hey, they could always try to crash it. The Vin Smoke ships, the GERMA ships, are capable of climbing the Grand Line like straight up, so they could just, do that. So we might maybe get to see them with Reverie, but Reverie's like happening like right now, like right around the same time that Big Mom is chasing after the crew and everything, and the GERMAs are in Totland. That's when the Reverie's about to happen. Oda might even turn back the clock a little bit with that, so I don't think we're probably going to see them too much later on. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and all that stuff. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Junima Double Sixu!